Hello again, viewers, and greetings, fellow space travelers. This is Thorn of Night, and welcome to episode 1 of my sort of remake of my tree breeding guide. I decided that I needed to go ahead and cover a lot of the new stuff that there has been added to the Forestry and Extra Trees tree breeding. There are a lot of new trees, but also there are a lot of the same tree, especially like what I'm flying over right now. There is a lot added, don't get me wrong, but some of them are just kind of the same tree over and over and over again. And what I'm doing right here is I want you guys to sort of get an idea of what you're getting into if you want to actually pursue the tree breeding itself. There is a lot to cover, and just like the previous guide, it is going to be multiple episodes. But I'm going to be approaching it from a sort of a different angle than I did before. There's a lot of information that you can know about the trees without actually knowing about the trees. Obviously, I'm doing the video series to give you a visual representation of what the trees look like, but there are some other bits of information that you just can't really get off of the wikis and the guides that are available, because, well, frankly, most people don't have the time or inclination to do some of this tedious stuff that I do. So that's what I'm doing. I'm showing you this. And as you can see, there is a lot of variation. There are some really big trees, there are lots of really tiny trees, there's just everything. And most of the different types of trees have their own specific type of wood. As you can see, I'm going over these little patches in the middle. And I'll be covering more about what all this is later. But for right now, I just want you to see what all there is to look forward to and to see what you're getting yourself into when it comes to doing the tree breeding. Uh, there is a type of tree for anything you could possibly want, any sort of visual texture, whatever. You can crossbreed different trees to get like these red leaves on this, well, maybe not the sequoia, but some other shaped tree like this one here, the lightish green. You can crossbreed them and get different attributes from one tree to another. But what I'm going to be covering in this series are just the basic trees of each species. But that's it. There are 102 that I have gone over. It took most of a Minecraft day to fly from one end to the other. But I'm going to go ahead and cut here and get everything set up. I just want you to see the vast array of what there is to look forward to with the tree breeding. So I'll be right back. All right, now one quick thing before I go on with the actual demonstration of the new stuff and get into the trees. There is one further thing that I've added to this map so you guys can sort of get a more tangible idea of the way the different tree breeding mechanisms interact. And that is way over there is the start of the map where I have all the core trees. And all the way down here at the tail end, I have designed a tree of trees, basically. And you can go on the ground, and there's the tree of trees entrance. It's divided up into sections, starting with the core trees here, the birch, oak, spruce, and jungle. Then it goes off onto the main branches that come off of what you can make from the core trees. The mundane larch, the what's this one? The common beech, and all the other ones. But the way I designed it is, if I bring this up, and hopefully this won't crash. whoops, wasn't flying. The way it starts is at the bottom of the screen. There is the entrance I just went in, and you can sort of follow the little black wool paths to see how the different trees are made, what families they belong to, and so forth. So it's sort of an explorable way of getting a better understanding of what trees go where and how you have to do it. Obviously, the trees that are on the outermost fringes are the ones that take the most amounts of crossbreeding to acquire. The superior tree obviously isn't in this tree. There's a place for it over there where my crosshairs are, because obviously the superior cannot be grown on the surface of this flat world. But that's basically the gist of what this is. You can explore this yourself. I'll be leaving a link to the download for this map in the description below so you can get it and look at it yourself and walk through here and get a better understanding. I believe this way is north, so it doesn't really look like a tree from here. But anyway, back to the actual guide. All right, now on with the rest of the guide. Actually, before I get on to that, between the last bits of recording, the last clips, and now, there has actually been an update to the Unleashed pack. It is now 117, and what that means is the two of the trees that were missing before that I had mentioned are now in here. The Osang Orange, however you pronounce that, Osang, Osange, whatever, I'm going to call it Osang, and the Pink Ivory have been added. The Giant Sequoia is still not in here, but those two trees are accounted for. They're in my tree of trees, and I have these little patches for them as well. But before I get on to what these patches are, let's get to the tools that you're going to want to know about for doing the tree breeding. Some you know, some you may not be familiar with. The first one I have here is called the Arborist's Chest, and it requires a glass block, a chest, and any 5 saplings that you want to use. And I have an example of it right here. And what it does is it stores any of the forestry or extra trees saplings in it, and it keeps track of how many species you have discovered. You can see that I have 104 out of 105. It would be 105, except there's no way to get to Giant Sequoia. And just to show you, this is a forestry sapling. It will go in the chest, and this is a vanilla sapling. It will not. Also, one other bit of information, those question marks, similar to the Apiarist chest, those are supposed to represent how you have managed to discover some crossbreeds, but they just aren't working. I don't know if that's in the mix to get that working or not, but the Arborist chest will hold the base, just purebred saplings, and it will also hold the hybrids. So there are 125 slots for 104 saplings, but there are lots of options for hybrids. You could do some statistics math for that and figure that out. I have not done the permutations to figure out how many actual hybrids there are. If someone wants to do that, feel free, let me know. That'd be awesome. But anyway, moving on to the next thing, you are going to need to know about the Treealyzer, and I have one here in my hand, but really quickly how to craft that. You are going to need a carpenter, which will need to run on power, as well as some water to put in here in order to craft that. But you need 4 copper ingots, 2 glass panes, a diamond, and 2 redstone, and that will get you 1 Treealyzer. Now, what the Treealyzer does is, if fueled by honey drops or honeydew, it acts just like the Beealyzer, and you can see that I have a vanilla sapling here and a forestry sapling. If I put the vanilla sapling in here, it first thing turns it into a forestry sapling, and then it also tells you all this information that's encoded into it. The amount of saplings that you can expect to get from it, how fast it grows, how tall it is, its width, its yield, all that kind of stuff. Then there is the list of conditions like the light. None of these saplings will grow at night. I have tried. I've tried to force them with bone meal, and they will not grow. Almost every single one likes the plains environment for growing, except for one, the superior tree. Except for two in the case of actual breeding, which will also include the white willow. But the white willow will grow on the plains. It just can only be bred in another biome setup. This second slot also tells you the types of fruits that it will support, the fruits that it makes, cocoa, but it doesn't actually tell you the possible produce on that third tab, and the family of fruits that the tree will produce. This spot here, the possible produce, on trees like, let's see here, the oak, it will tell you the fruit that the leaf blocks will put off, but it won't tell you, as far as I can tell, the fruit that the trunk gives off, which is why the jungle sapling is like that. It doesn't show the cocoa beans, but it will produce cocoa. Let me use, that's the one from the creative spawn or whatever. Then this fourth tab, pane, whatever, shows the possible mutations. Just like the Arborist chest, those question marks will stay as question marks even if you manage to get the species bred. And then finally, the classification. Let's see here. Some of them have a bunch, some of them just have the one, but that doesn't really come into play in the actual breeding. It's just fun information to know. Next thing are the spectacles, and these are vastly important for your progress in doing the tree breeding. You're going to need 2 glass panes and a bronze ingot to get you one of these spectacles. And if I fly up here, I have some spectacles on, and you can see the white block there. Let me get that in the corner here. If I take the spectacles off, the white block turns back to green, and it's a lot harder to spot, especially from a distance. On some of the trees you can see little green nodules, but not all the trees have that hint. So what you're going to need to do is get some spectacles so they pop out. They just turn bright white and they stand out from the rest of the tree. You can see which ones have been crossbred. Speaking of crossbreeding, the 2 main ways of crossbreeding are bees and butterflies. Not only are they the 2 main, but they are the 2 only. You are probably going to be wanting bees to do this. You can sort of rely on butterflies if you want it to be absolutely random and you want it to take forever. I have had no bees on this map. Oh, I have a poorly loaded chunk there. I have no bees on this map, and there are still crossbred leaf blocks. And the reason for that is these little guys, the butterflies, are flapping around. Let's see if I can find one. They are usually everywhere. There's one right here. And they go around and cross-pollinate the leaf blocks. It is very random, and apparently if you kill butterflies or if they suffocate or whatever, they do drop pollen. And pollen, which you can get from bees if you have the alveary set up correctly, you can get pollen. Or if you kill some butterflies, you can get some pollen. But let me come over here to this tree. I have some silver birch pollen, and this is an apple oak tree. If I right-click with the pollen, it cross-pollinates the leaf blocks manually. And it will use it up. I'm in creative mode. Let's get out of creative mode here and do this. There we go. Uses them up one at a time. Hello, butterfly. But that is the butterfly and the pollen. The next thing that I need to show you is the grafter, and the mechanics for the grafter have changed for the better. But the recipe for that is a bronze ingot and 2 sticks that will get you 1 grafter. The grafter is used for guaranteeing getting a sapling out of your tree, either a vanilla sapling or a crossbred sapling, whatever, it doesn't matter. It will guarantee getting it. So if I use this grafter on here, okay, good, I'm not in creative. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has 5 uses and then dies. And as you can see, I was able to get some crossbreed out of, or crossbred saplings out of those crossbreed leaf blocks, and a couple of the just normal base apple oak saplings out of the unbred ones. And it took 5 uses. One other change that has happened is if I use 1, 2, 3, and then switch over to this one, 1, 2, 3, you can now actually repair these things. There are other kinds of grafters, the proven and the thaumium grafter, if you have Thaumcraft in your mod pack. The thaumium one can be made with auto repair and will help you immensely because going through all that bronze is a pain. And the proven grafter, I believe, can only be gotten from a villager. Let's see, is there a recipe for that? No, but there is a recipe for that. Alright, so I've covered all those things. Next up, since it is almost nighttime, I'm going to show you some of the differences of the types of trees. First, as an example here, I have the forestry apple oak saplings and trees, and just the vanilla oak saplings and trees. Visually, you can see, and if you've messed with saplings at all, you know that the oak saplings have a huge variety of shapes and sizes, and they can grow to these big behemoths or these just tiny little trees that you see here. Also, they will grow solid next to each other. I planted the saplings just like I did over there, and I'm letting it get nighttime on purpose for the purposes of this demonstration. But you can see only a couple of the saplings haven't grown. That's probably because there's something directly above them. One other difference is if they are completely enclosed in darkness for the vanilla saplings, they will pop off and not be able to do anything. The saplings that were in there were breaking loose as the rest of the trees were growing. Now, they will grow quickly, but the ones on the interior will just pop off. As opposed to these, they will stay even in the darkest of the nighttime. I've had a couple of these vanish because of the poorly loaded chunks, but trust me, there are saplings over there. Now, if I take the apple oak sapling and try to plant it, it will go on the ground, but if I try to grow it, it will not grow at all. However, if I take the regular oak sapling and put it on the ground and try to grow it, there we go, it will grow. If I make it morning, as soon as it's morning, I can grow the forestry sapling. So that is the main difference, is how it treats the darkness and nighttime between the saplings. Next up is the information that I have encoded in the rest of this map here. And what I've done is I've divided the tree types into their own little species as a sort of like a swath. Well, what's the word I'm looking for? Those paint samples. So you can just have a list of information available visually and tangibly, so you can come in here and look. The first thing, I have 20 trees of each of the species planted on that side there, and then I have the cluster array so you can see the growth density on this side. Over here I have a scale, and every other one is yellow, except every 10th one is red, and that will come into play in some of the taller trees. But you can use this to see how much space you're going to need in order to grow these, because they will not grow If the conditions are right, like the sapling does not detect that there's enough room to grow, it just won't grow at all, as you can see by all the leftover saplings. So for instance, the apple oak sapling will only grow to 7 height, and it has a width of 2, or if you want to look at it this way, count the diameter of the maximum diameter of the saplings from the center, 1, 2, and then you can plant a sapling. That's how far you can have it from the wall. The next thing is this support, or this platform here. You can see the logs from the side, but down the center, where I have the arborist's chest, I have the cross section of the logs where applicable, and the planks that those logs turn into. Then in this chest, you can see that I have some stats on the sign here. The yield of each sapling on average over a sample of 20 trees is 4.5 logs per tree for the apple oak and 5.7 saplings per tree. That tells you a lot more information than just the sapling yield being lowest. Well, 5.7 isn't really the lowest. That is no, that's the jungle, I'm sorry. No, it's even apple oak, it says lowest. Okay. But 5.7 saplings on average per tree, that is a positive return. You can just plant this on an automatic farm and let it go. Don't have to worry about running out. In the chest, I have the amount of logs I got from 20 trees, the amount of saplings, and then some samples of the planks that the logs will turn into so you can see what they're called. And if there's any fruit possible, that will go in here as well. Then over here, I have the arborist chest with the saplings in it and the name of the tree type. And for the crossbred trees in this location here, I will have a sign telling you what 2 trees are used to make the new crossbreed. And then finally, as part of the encoding built into this, I have a piece of blue wool. And what this represents is how far from the center line it is how many steps you have to do in order to get the sapling. So the apple oak, birch, the spruce, and the jungle trees, since they are essentially vanilla saplings, they are a distance of 0. So this first row here represents that they are a core tree, and there's only 4 of them that you have to deal with. Everything else will be from here on out. So let me go ahead, and I've covered the apple oak. Let me go ahead and cover the birch, spruce, and jungle. First off, there are some differences here. Some additional differences I forgot to mention between the sapling types. If you look here, the forestry tree is called apple oak, but the same vanilla tree is called just oak. The red spruce versus the spruce, the silver birch versus birch, and then the same jungle and jungle. This column here is the forestry, and this one is the vanilla, except, well, just to show you that it's still called jungle. I almost forgot. Jungle and jungle, but you can see the ID number is different. Anyway, the silver birch, as you can see, can grow up to a height of 7 as well. You can expect to get 4.5 logs on average out of a single tree, and 6.5 saplings on average out of a single tree. And there's some of the output, and the planks will be these birch wood planks, and they are called silver birch. This is the density, and just so you know, all of this is a lot more understandable if you come in and look at it yourself. I'm probably going to miss some things or go through it too fast or whatever, so please feel free to download this map and take a look at it yourself and use it to do your experimentations. But this is the silver birch tree. Moving on to the red spruce, there we have the growth density, and you can see that it grows up to a specific height there of 9. It will give you about 5.9, almost 6 logs per tree, and over 8 saplings on average per tree. And you'll get the spruce wood planks, which are just vanilla planks, and you can see them here. And then last of the core trees are the jungle trees, and I have the saplings in there. There's the blue wool, and you can see that the cocoa pods are growing on the sides. You can get the cocoa beans from them, but that is the density that you can expect to see from them. And you can see that they can grow up to a height of 11, so you'll need to keep that in mind when you're growing these. Oh, I also did forget, the birch has I'm going to call it radius of 2 out from the sapling. The red spruce has a maximum radius of 3. Not all of them grow to that, but most of them do. And the jungle tree will have a radius of 2. You can expect to get a bit more of the logs. You can get 8.6 logs and 2.8 saplings per tree as an average. And once again, that's an average over 20 trees. I wanted to have a large enough sample to get a reasonable average, but I didn't want to go overboard. And you can get some of those cocoa beans, and the jungle wood planks are in here like that. And there's the blue wool. But what I'm going to do for the rest of this series is cover the different branches of the tree types, and there are a lot of them. There are 100 more to go through of the species, and I'm going to cover them in sort of one family at a time, or a subfamily, so you can see sort of how they all are interconnected. But I'm going to save that for the rest of the series. So I'm going to wrap up here. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments section below. I would say leave a message in my YouTube inbox, but apparently YouTube has gotten rid of the inbox since I last checked, which is kind of a surprise to me. Either I didn't get the memo or something happened. It's just not there. But anyway, do feel free to leave a comment. I will hopefully be able to get it, and I will respond as quickly and promptly and fully as I possibly can if you have any specific questions. If you do like this series and you like this episode, you like what I'm doing here, please feel free to give a like. I do appreciate that. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe so you know when my future content comes out. I'm going to try to get all the episodes in this guide up back to back, so some of my other series might fall by the wayside for a few days, but I'll try to get these all up as quickly as possible. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here, so thank you once again for watching. This is Thorn of Night, and I will talk to you later.